Welcome to All in Wellness, where we explore the journey to holistic well-being. I'm your host, Amanda Lamage, and I'm thrilled to have you join me on this exciting adventure towards a healthier and happier life. In each episode, we'll dive deep into various aspects of wellness, mind, body, and spirit. From nutrition and fitness to mental health and personal growth, we'll uncover valuable insights, expert advice, and inspiring stories that empower you to take charge of your well-being. So, whether you're looking to enhance your physical health, nurture your mental resilience, or simply find a moment of peace in your day, you're in the right place. Let's embark on this journey together, embracing all the possibilities that wellness has to offer. Welcome to the very first episode of All in Wellness. In today's episode, we'll be delving into 3 interconnected themes: wellness, gratitude, and being led by God. Each of these elements plays a vital role in our daily lives, shaping our perspectives and guiding our actions. We're very happy to have a special guest with us tonight, Rayson Choo. Hello. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
Well, it's really my honor and pleasure to be here. And when you mentioned that I'm the first, my heart really melted. I was like, wow, man, I'm so blessed to be, the first. And I'm doing great, I would say. 2025 has been a busy year for me. And it's just that I've been really busy with different meetings recently to actually discuss about potential collaborations in terms of speaking and also at the same time with other brands as well. And it's going to be one of the best year for me in this year, 2025.
Wow, that's very exciting.
How about you? How have you been?
Very well, very well. And we're honored to have you. And it's been an exciting year for us as well, just busy. Starting off the new year on a good note. And Rayson, so you have your own podcast called The Raygacy Show out of Singapore. And your show has been heard in over 70 countries and is among one of the top 1.5% of over almost 3 million shows. Can you tell us a little bit more about your journey and what inspired you to start your own podcast?
Well, it all started way back in 2014, actually. So it came as a thought at first because back then I needed inspiration. I needed some motivation to help me out because back then when I graduated from the army, which all the guys in Singapore have to go through 2 years of army service. And then after that, because I had a background in nursing, so I actually had the diploma in nursing. So I thought I could go wherever I want, do whatever I want in terms of nursing. So I actually joined a Japanese clinic, and long story short, I was there for about 3 to 4 months. I wasn't able to focus at work due to toxic relationship with my ex back then. So I was actually being fired after that, right? So as a 24-year-old, when you first started out in your journey to work, you thought you'd be like your peers or probably slightly better than your peers because you chose a different route as compared to them where they go to the hospitals to work. But I went to a private clinic. So somehow or rather, it kind of shook me and it made me really think a lot about my future. So what happened is that right after I was being fired, and it took me some time to actually recuperate, to heal, and to really reflect and understand what's going on. And then after that, I decided to actually improve on myself. So I told myself, internally, that within the next 5 years, I'm going to be way more successful than who I was. So I decided to really start to read a lot of different type of books, a lot of entrepreneur, business, and self-help books. And then I started to watch YouTube videos where I chanced upon Lewis Howes. So Lewis Howes wasn't really that popular back then. He was a newbie, and he has no fame at that point of time. But I saw him interviewing Tony Robbins, the great Tony Robbins, in Tony's private jet. And I was thinking to myself, wow, this content is really great. Kudos to Lewis and Tony. I was like thinking to myself, like, hey, if this guy can do it, or other people like Joel Brown from Addicted to Success, and a few other people that are doing podcasts back then in 2014, and they grew periodically really well and really large in a way, I was asking myself, if they can do it, why not me? Right? So
Right.
I actually started to ponder about how to do my own podcast and etc. But I didn't really take the action after that. I actually went on to join the hospital in in Singapore, which is like an asylum, which we care for mentally unwell, unsound patients. So I decided to join this also because of my my family as well, because my mom actually suffers from this mental illness called schizophrenia. So I wanted to actually give back to her and also want to understand more about her as well. Long story short, after I graduated from the advanced diploma in mental health nursing, which I was being sponsored by the hospital, I I was really like, really fired up because my classmates also knew that I have this dream of having my own podcast, and they even call me Raygacy. So,
I
it's like a
love
brand
that.
already. Yeah, it's like a brand
Yes.
already. A lot of people know Raygacy in a sense. So I decided to actually come out of my comfort zone and do my podcast through Facebook Lives. So I wanted to use that medium to actually leverage on it to interview successful entrepreneurs or local speakers and authors as well. I would say it was a slow start for me. It was such a slow start for me because I started off with just one guest a month, and then
Okay.
slowly it evolved to one guest a week or two,
Mhm.
probably two guests a week. And what happened was 2018 was the pivotal year for me, where I managed to actually interview great like Gary V and even Steve Seams, for example, and so many other people that are luminaries in their own niche, in their own right.
Incredible. Do you feel like the universe, you kind of attracted what you were looking for? And, when you do good things come to you.
I truly believe in manifestations as well. And when your mind can conceive or you can think of it, you can actually achieve it in a way or
Hmm.
another. But of course, you need to put in the effort. You need to go through the setbacks. You need to go through I would say, the lessons to be learned before you
Hmm.
get to go to level up to another level in a way, right? And
Hmm.
of course, there are people who thought that I'm chasing fame just by interviewing all these people on the I would say fame will be a byproduct, which I wasn't chasing. I was chasing more towards credibility. We can just prove that, hey, we are doing our best, we are doing what we are great at, and we are helping people with our content. For example, we are helping people with the value that we can provide for them in a way, be it the product or the services that we're providing or you are providing in terms of your spa, for example, which is so nice, so beautiful, right?
Oh, thank you. I think it's important just staying humble, right? And just,
Yes.
and if you haven't failed, I feel the same there. If, how do you appreciate a win if you haven't failed to acknowledge the win, right? So those
Yeah.
lessons are so pivotal in our journey. I
Yes.
think it's so
I
important
agree.
to recognize. Now, Rayson, you have managed to co-author on a couple of books, I believe. Is this correct? Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
So the opportunity came after I interviewed some of my guests, and one of my guests actually spoke with me, and so she told me that because that at that year 2020 I had a knee injury, so I had some fracture. I had a fracture on my knee, right knee, in fact. So um, somehow or rather, I was so free, right? I have nothing to do, and just
Sure.
nice. I interviewed this lady, and she was actually a publisher and also an author as well. So, and then she invited me actually to join her and her team of authors to co-author a book together. And it's called The Younger Self Letters. This is like one of the book that we had. It's called Younger Self Letters, and it's really amazing because we reached USA Today bestseller for that book.
Amazing. That's incredible. So, yeah, congrats.
Yeah, thank you. And that book was actually to write about our journey, and also at the same time, what would we share with our younger self, especially the 18-year-old self, for example, right? What is the message that we want to share with them? And that was how the book was. And then the other books, one of the book that I was really honored to be able to co-author with this guy who unfortunately has passed on. His name was Bob Proctor. So he is like,
yes, I remember him.
Yeah, he's like the OG for one of the OG, in fact, for The Secret by Rhonda Byrne, right? So yeah, I managed to co-author with him and the other more than 10, 20 other authors as well, other speakers, to write about our tips on coaching and speaking. And then just nice, this guest of mine, he was actually asking me to actually write on podcasting, my views on podcasting and my tips and tricks on podcasting. And that was the book about it. And then the other one, we managed to get hold of Noah Kagan from AppSumo. So we managed to co-author with him. I managed to co-author with him and quite a number of digital marketers from India, US, and a few other countries as well. And then we actually wrote about digital marketing, about our views, our tips, tricks on digital marketing as well. And yeah, I was really honored to actually to write on this. And of course, it's also together with growth, writing about growth, how the mindsets shift and etc. And together with digital marketing as well. So yeah, it's called the Growth Hacking. It's called the Growth Hacking Book 3. So you guys can actually check it out on Amazon. And yeah, it's been a while. So I co-authored 3 books within the year 2020 and 2019 and 2020. So it was like a pivotal year for me as well. Like I've always wanted to write my own book, but then I got the opportunity to co-author for the time being. But of course, I would love to write my own book, and it will come. It will come. When the time comes, I will let you guys know as well. Yeah.
Timing is everything, don't you think? It's got to be the right timing. It's incredible. So in the last 5 years, what would you say you've become better at? Or what new realizations, new approaches have helped you?
I would say that I actually improved on my procrastination. I kind of procrastinate sometimes in a way, probably because I was in a relationship back then, and I wasn't really that focused on my goals, individual goals, more so than couple goals in a way. So I was more inclined to think for us rather than myself in a way.
Sure.
So yeah, so individual goals were being put aside or to put on hold for the time being while working on the couple goals and all back then when I was attached. And because right now I'm single, so I have more time to focus on my individual goals, which I am really, really, on fire for 2025. I'm on the hustle mode this year, even at the start, even though I don't show it on Instagram stories. Okay, so for those of you who saw my Instagram stories, like I was playing game or whatever, attending events, those are just the cherry on the top in a way. But whatever that's below those cherry, I won't show until things have materialized in a way. So stay tuned for whatever hustle that I'm going to have. Of course, I also realize that sometimes you need to take a few steps back before you can make a comeback. Like literally, before you can make a comeback, you need to take a few steps back, regardless whether you reflect on it, you learn from the lessons or not, you still got to take a few steps back. And sometimes you might want to resist on spending that amount of money, to be it on self-improvement, or even the trip, the solo trip, or even the parties and whatnot. Sometimes you might think that, man, I do not want to waste my money, right? I do not want to waste those money on all these things. But sometimes it's a need. It's a need from the universe, from God, that, hey, you got to go out there. You got to go and experience all this before you settle down again, or before you make your own comeback in a way. I feel that sometimes, like you mentioned earlier on, timing is everything, right? So I believe timing really is everything. When you want to resist that nature takes its course kind of thing, sometimes I find that there's no point in resisting. You just go with the flow. And somehow or rather you realize, oh, I needed to go through this so that I can go and understand more about this experience, why I have to go through this experience, and how I can grow from there in a way.
I 100% agree. And it's interesting. We have very similar paths, because I've also been spending the last year just healing. And I've also been focusing more on what I want, and being single, and just knowing that the whole journey itself is so needed, and all the steps that God's leading me to, just knowing there's a lesson, there's something that I need to learn from this, but taking that time and just allowing things, like you said, just letting the universe guide me and show me the way. And it's just incredible when you're open to the universe letting it guide you to your path, you're destined to.
Yeah.
And you're able to focus a little bit more, because I've definitely been the people pleaser in the past, and just found I'm doing things that are not necessarily something that I believe in, or something that I would want to take the time to do. And so it's nice to be able to recognize and see that, I think, right?
Yeah, it's really important to actually go through this kind of mess in order to straighten things up a little, and to grow from there, to go up the hill, to go up the mountain, and strive again in a way. Life is not so monotonous, where it's always a straight line up. It's gonna be
all over the
wave,
place,
all over the place, right? And you wouldn't know until you actually experience things, and then after that you realize, okay, I wasn't mature enough in this area of life. And you look back, and I was like thinking, oh, okay, I needed to go through this because God want us to learn about this, or universe want us to learn about this, and things like that. So yeah, so all these are actually things that I have to go through before I understand more about life, love, dating, relationships, and even friendships as well. So yeah, so I have to go through all this stuff before I realize, oh, who's real, who's fake,
right?
And ironically as it sounds, I did tell people this before, like everyone in the whole entire world, okay, adults especially, or teenagers or young adults, everyone want to have a best friend, want to have a great friend to be with, to have. But ironically as it sounds, the people that we know, some of them, they want this, but yet they're being two-faced, they're cheating on other person's back, they are stabbing people's back, and etc., right? All these are due to, I realized are also because they are insecure, and their wounds were not healed properly,
from childhood,
regardless.
I feel like.
Yeah, childhood trauma or adult trauma, right? Young adult trauma, a teenage trauma that they had, for example, saw their parents fighting, their exes cheated on them or whatsoever, and they didn't really let them heal, and then they decided to do whatever that's detrimental for them, right? And something that's familiar to them because they had it before, they experienced it, so they want to take revenge on the other people when they never even exactly did something bad to them before, right? And then they had this, revenge mindset or whatever, and then they come onto it, right? Which is very unhealthy in a way.
And it's hard if you're an empath and you end up on the other end of that.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Rayson, what would you say? How does gratitude play a role in your life? I feel like when we practice gratitude and we're appreciating the good in our lives, no matter how small, it makes such a difference. And how has that made a difference in your life?
Oh, it made a lot of difference in my life. You know what? Last year while I was healing, I used to have this gratitude journaling kind of habit, which I didn't really practice. And my whole life was topsy-turvy in a way. So only this year, last year actually, 31st December, I just bought this and I received this. And it's called a gratitude journal. So I have been religiously writing it. Even if I miss a day, I'll make sure I write on the missed day as well, so that I wouldn't like forget, oh, what happened, what were the good things that happened, what were the things that I'm grateful for that happened on that day. So I've been religiously writing it in the past, but then I got slack, and then also at the same time I also needed some healing, so I didn't really write as much as this year, where I was so focused on gratitude because I've been given so many opportunities this year at the start of the year. And it's just like
Incredible.
what this year, today is 9th of January in Singapore. And for past 9 days, I already have been receiving so much blessings from God and the universe in a way. And I really am really grateful for the opportunities that are coming my way. So yeah, I'm really stoked for this. And yeah, I find that gratitude is something that brings me more calm, peace, and positivity in my life. In fact, it gave
It's
me so
instrumental.
much. Yeah, it's really instrumental. It makes me feel like my heart it feels so warm rather than that coldness that I had in the past. That 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 unhappiness, that disappointment, that regret that I had in the past.
Right.
What if I did this? What if I didn't do this and whatsoever? All this kind of negativity that I had last year, which I hate to admit that I was so out of place in a way. I was kind of, I would say, depressed in a way, but wasn't so depressed that I needed to be house myself in the asylum. But yeah, I was
Right.
really, I was really, depressed. Of course, 2 years back, 2023 September period was more depressing, even though I'm supposed to be celebrating my birthday on that year.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah. Certain things happen. I have to take charge. I have to be responsible. I have to learn from it in a way. Even though I wasn't the one who made a lot of mistakes over there. But of course, I still have to learn and have to accept that this person decided to leave means this person had to leave. I cannot hold on to someone that want to leave my life, right? So yeah, so I decided to actually work on myself, which only happened like late last year, which was after my trip to Melbourne and Sydney. I
Okay.
felt much at ease, more relief, and more of like I felt better in a way. And then after that, I
Like you
decided
could
to
be
work on
yourself.
myself even more. Yeah, I decided to work on myself, overcome some, I would say, some of my fears, especially fear of height, which
Okay.
I didn't expect myself to have such fear. All thanks to my dad. Okay, not blaming him, but all thanks to my dad for being so protective of his only son. So yeah, and I would say that gratitude has helped me a lot to help me feel better, especially.
Well, and scientific studies have even shown that cultivating gratitude can improve our mood, our physical health, strengthen relationships, and I think it's so important to realize like those experiences too are good lessons for us to realize maybe what we don't want, right? And what paths we don't want to go down. Or thanks for sharing. That's really touching to hear your journey, and it's very similar to my journey and the timing. How has failure, would you say, or an apparent failure, set you up later for success? I mean, you've kind of talked about that a little bit. Do you have any favorite failures?
Favorite failure will always be 2014, which I'll never forget, which was the one I mentioned earlier on, being fired, right? And that made me think a lot about my future, about how I want to impact people as well, how I want to inspire people. I always thought that, life's going to be easier for me because I had a rougher childhood, but no, it will never be easier. It will always be tough on you so that they can strengthen you in a way. I know this sounds a bit cliche, but I believe, God is, or the universe loves to train people up, loves to make people tougher, and loves to get us to learn more about ourselves. And then from there we can actually, start to understand what's good, what's not so good for us, what's our strengths, what's our flaws. And that's where I got to realize that, I actually love to speak. I really love to inspire people. I love to do a lot of, I would say, charity, especially when I was way younger. So I was thinking like, okay, so now that I actually went through that failure, right, of being fired, and then after that, 2 weeks later, I decided to break up with my ex. So no love, no money, no nothing, right? No income, especially. So I was like telling myself, like, what's in it for me, and what can I do in the next 5 years? And I told myself I'm going to be way more successful in the next 5 years, right? So that's when I decided to, okay, I'm going to read, I'm going to improve. And then that's where I chanced upon Lutz House, Joel Brown, even Tai Lopez, right? I even chanced upon Tai Lopez, who encouraged me to read, encourage people to read. I saw him as a mentor, and then I decided to, read a lot, ferociously reading a lot, right? And improve myself. Because what I realized is that I don't know a lot of stuff. I would say that many people thought that they know a lot of stuff, but ironically as it sounds, unfortunately, they only know about 1% of what the whole world is, or what 1 to maybe even 5% of what their niche is. Be it, I would say, digital marketing, entrepreneurship, or even oncology if they are, a doctor, or even if they are, say, a psychiatrist, right? They only know a percentage that's available out there. They do not know 100% what the other person is going through, what their patients are going through, their clients are going through, and etc. So they only know a certain thing, and then they thought, this is how it is. But this is not how it is sometimes. Like, for example, I thought podcasting is this way or that way. Actually, there are more things to that. It's just that when I really go and dig it out, when I go and venture into this even more, go and do more research, then I'll realize, there are some things that I do not know. And then I'll have my own aha moment. And that is, I truly believe. Yeah, this is what I truly believe, that it applies to every area of our lives, regardless whether is it in terms of relationship with our family or with a loved one, a spouse, for example, even with our kids. We thought, we know, even though I'm not a parent, I'm a godparent of other kids, but not a parent yet, because I haven't found the right one yet, right? I wasn't the right one yet for that person, right? So I would say that, we thought we know them so well because how we were being taught and brought up by our father, grandfather, or our fathers were being brought up by our great-grandfather or grandfather. We thought that is how we should go on with our next generation, pass down whatever belief system, whatever values to them. But then again, this is the 21st century. What worked for 19th century, 20th century, 18th, 17th, whatever century, or even BC doesn't 100% work now, in a way, right? Of course, certain things will work, certain things will not 100% work. So I would say that, we cannot actually think that we know everything that's out there in a way. So we have to always be curious. And that was what I told myself. I have to be curious about my line of stuff, my podcast. How can I do it even better? How can I improve? And then who's my so-called mentor, idol, competitor in a way, so that I can learn from them rather than having an unhealthy competition with them, which
Exactly.
I would say that, yeah, every idol don't have to become your rival. They can be your collaborator. They can be, or probably even you will become your idol's idol as well. They look at you and say, hey, wow, you are so different and you are impacting the world in a different way as compared to me. So why not let's do things together and make this world a better place, or this niche a better place for people to come and learn, for example, or to experience, for example.
I agree. I think we're doing it together. We're not necessarily competing. It's really working with each other, because we can't do it all and we need to work together.
We have only, say, the average lifespan is for men and women are different, right? But of course, we have about 70, 80, 90 years in this world. Why are we making it so tough, right? We can make it a better place for everyone to live in. Of course, I mean, humanly speaking, we are also a form of, I wouldn't say animal, but we are a form of species that have really a wild instinct, a natural instinct to survive. And that's why we cannot let other people go on top of us, above us sometimes. I understand that. But then again, if we don't collaborate and we just keep crashing other people's building and making sure that the building that they're trying to build is not as tall as ours, or short or taller than ours, then it is in a very, I would say, insecure mindset that you have, that you are actually trying to outgrow other people and not let other people grow with you, which it doesn't make sense to me. So that's why I truly believe, life, we have to actually be the more generous one, so that, people, regardless whether they are generous towards us or not, at least we are at ease with ourselves. And as human being, we love to give, ironically as it sounds, we love to help people in a way. And when we are helping people, it gives us that good feeling back again. And then regardless whether you believe in karma or whatsoever, good things will come to you. It doesn't mean it will only go to other people and good things won't come to you at all. It will come, but it won't come like 1 second later, right? It won't come 5 minutes later. It might, but it might come like few days, few weeks, few months later, or might even be years later. Then you amass a huge wealth or whatsoever, right? And it all boils down to the mindset that you have, whether is it a growth mindset or is it a lack of mindset, right? It's easy to say, but when we really do it, it's tough. I get it. People who are tuning into this, regardless whichever country you're from, you will always be thinking, hey, it's so easy to say, right? It's so easy to say, oh, just do this, do that, and then you feel great and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it's easy. But of course, when it's easy to say it to yourself, it becomes like a mantra to you. And then subconsciously, it will from conscious become subconscious. And then subconsciously, you would want to act on it and you want to do it. And then that will help, like in your podcast, your name is wellness, right? It has a word wellness. It will help in your wellness as well when you're doing something good for other people. Like
So
recently, I brought my parents to Malaysia for a short trip. And when I saw them smiling, being so happy, it made me feel happy. It made me feel happier, in fact. And even when I got to actually give some, I would say he's like a beggar in a way. He was like going to different coffee shops to ask for money. At first I rejected him, right? When he reached out to me and asked for money, I rejected him. And so the other people, even my parents, right? And then when I saw him shaking his head, I was like thinking to myself, why not make him nod his head, let him have a better day. So I decided to
Sure.
give him $10. Usually people will just give $1 or maybe 50 cents or a penny or yeah. I mean $10 in their currency, to them, because they're earning the money there, they will see it as a lot. But for us Singaporeans, we will say, oh, it's divided by 3.26, so it's like, oh, it's just $3, right, or whatsoever. But for them, it's a lot because it's their currency as compared to ours. If I were to give him $10 USD or Singapore dollars, well, that would be even better, right, in a way. But of course, I do not want to like spoil him in a way because, I'll probably sometimes, these beggars, they have to do something, right, to improve on their lives rather than going on the streets or coffee shops, cafes to get money, which might seem easy for them, but then of course somehow or other it's not nice in a way. You need to do something, you need to add value to other people's lives so you can earn more in the future, right? So it's the same for myself, for everyone that's tuning into this podcast. So yeah.
I always say for myself, I always get more out of giving than receiving. And I know it's different for everyone, but I truly do. And I think when I do the good things will come back. And it's not always, like you said, in one day, in 1 month, it could be over many years. And, it's just really gratifying, right? To feel gratitude and knowing you're helping someone else. But I actually feel better doing for others versus doing for myself. And not that I don't practice self-care, but it's important, right? To be cognizant and do the right thing, always do the right thing, and just looking out for others, because I think it comes back to us tenfold.
Yeah, it will come back tenfold. The more you give, the more you shall receive. Regardless whether it's from the Secret, the Bible, Sanskrit, or whichever religion that's out there, thousands of them that's out there, it all boils down to the more you give, the more you shall receive. And even though, right, for example, I'm going to come out a course, for example, on, say, podcasting, it doesn't mean I have to keep hold of all my secrets and not share during the free webinar. I mean, I can share whatever, I can do bite size to everyone. And then from there, okay, you want to join my program, paid program? Then I will give you more secrets in this way. Yeah, sure, we can do that. But of course, when I'm sharing, I don't mind giving my all, because once the person can feel it, they want to experience more with me. They want to experience more with you, because you are giving more than you are actually expecting, and you are giving more when at the same time than you are actually receiving in a way. So when you are giving more than that, all the more the universe or whoever that's aligned with this will give you more than what you have given out there in a way.
I agree 100%. It's very true. And it's a very good place to, be in that mindset. If we could all aspire to think in that way, it would really benefit the world, don't you think?
Definitely. It works not just for Western culture, Asian culture, Arabic culture, African culture. It works for every culture that's out there, every human being that's out there. It's just whether we want to normalize it or not, or we want to like, oh, it's only for the rich that can do this, or the middle income or the poor ones cannot do this kind of stuff. No such thing. Everybody can actually perform this, can act upon this. It's whether you want it or not. It's whether does it benefit you and your audience or not, in a way. And of course, if you keep thinking about how you can benefit rather than how you can add value to this person, then all the more you won't be able to get what you were expecting. Probably, instant gratification, you get some things, bad people get richer, whatsoever. Depends, right? Somehow or other, this is not how the world works in a way. Of course, we want it to be like, wow, everything is so positive and all. Yeah, I understand. But yeah, in life, if we are able to do what we preach, it's going to be awesome. And that's why I really implore everyone who's tuning in to actually do something good. If you can't do for other people first, you do it for yourself. And then after that, once you are able to do it for yourself, self-care and whatever, and then you realize that you are much better at a much better place and you want to give out to people, sure. And of course, there are people who ain't that well-to-do or whatsoever, and yet they still give because they know that the art of giving is better than the art of receiving for the first few times, until you realize that, oh wow, people are starting to experience you, embrace you and all, and then they will give you more. And you, of course, you wouldn't want to expect it, but somehow, or rather, it would just fall upon you, the goodness, the greatness that will fall upon you.
I just love that. And I feel like that's also what God wants us to do, don't you think? That's important. And when we see that and we're open, boy, is it a different journey for when you're in that path and that mindset. And I think he will reward us as well. And you talked about spirituality a little bit before and how it's affected your life. And it's very fitting to what we're talking about here.
Yeah, wellness, right?
Yeah, wellness, exactly. But wellness from within. And when you're doing the right things, I think it's going to improve your overall well-being. And Rayson, I have a question. So what would you say is the best advice a mentor has given you?
Actually, there are two advices that I would like to share. One is from Grant Cardone. The other one is Gary Vee. Okay, Grant Cardone said this. This happened during our podcast where both of us were at his suite in Marina Bay Sands, and we were looking out at HSBC Bank. And then he was looking at me and said, you know, all the guys that I mentioned, Gary Vee, Tai Lopez, all of them were good guys, great guys. But don't just follow these individuals. Look at those people that built banks, that built their brands on and in your country. And I was like thinking to myself, wow, that's so profound. Like we don't just learn from individuals, we learn from a group of people, a community, for example, or even like the brand themselves. What can we learn from Nike? What can we learn from Adidas, Puma, Under Armour, LV, Louis Vuitton, and all these other brands? How can they become so successful? And how can we use their life stories or their techniques and tips to apply on our lives and make sure that it's, I wouldn't say as successful as them, but it can be as successful as them if we want it. And as long as we are able to take the heat from God, universe, and then we can grow from there, and then grow the personal branding or the brand of ours in a way and make it as big. So that is one of them, right? That's one of the lessons that I've learned really well. Which it took me a while to apply, and I'm really grateful that, you know, earlier on you actually mentioned that my podcast was being featured in 70 plus countries, but actually recently when I checked, it's actually 95 countries. 95 countries, which I never expected. Countries like Luxembourg, Cyprus, Korea, Japan. There are people who are listening from there. And,
that's incredible.
And I'm really grateful for all those people that are tuning in to my podcast. Really amazed, really grateful. And the advice that Gary Vee gave to me that was so profound and yet so simple, and that is, it takes 21 years to success. And my question to him was like, 21 years? And he was like, yeah, 21 years. And maybe, right, I think like I can be like him already when I'm saying this, because it just sink in my head for damn long. Maybe it takes 3 years or 5 years to reach the success, right? But what happens after that? He wants me and everyone else to think that success is actually a long game. It's not an instant gratification kind of thing. Also, what if you were to manage to earn your millions? So what if you're gonna earn your, say for example, Rolex or your Patek Philippe or your Richard Mille, right? So what happens after that, right? Even if you got that, all those things and items that you always wanted, so what? Like, what's going to happen
Right.
next? You got your Lambo,
Exactly.
yes. You got your Ferrari, yes. You got your 6-story house, yes. Yeah, sure. You got your 20-bedroom building, your own house, yeah, sure. You got your own private jet, yeah, sure. But what happens after that, right? Oh, are you gonna upgrade to another thing? Are you gonna buy another thing? And then will it make you happier, right? Of course, all this, he didn't say this, but I got the gist out of it from there. And he said this: many people thought that you're gonna post a post on Instagram, LinkedIn, and you're gonna be on a yacht already. You're gonna be living that luxurious lifestyle. But it's not. It's not so simple. It's not so easy, right? If I can do that, then I would be a multi-millionaire already, right? In a way, right? Post something on Instagram or YouTube, and then it reach 1 million views within one day. No, even those people who have millions of followers on IG or even on YouTube, right? Or TikTok probably, right? Not all of their posts have 1 million views. Not all. Even if they have 5 million followers, it doesn't mean they will have all 5 million followers that will be viewing all their videos, right? It's the same for YouTube, right? You won't get to see, say, Gary Vee, Grant Cardone, or even people like, say, for example, How to Beast, or anyone out there, right? To have 3 to 5 million followers, and then all of their views have 3 to 5 million views. No, some would have 100,000, some would have 500,000, some might even have lesser than 100,000, right? So it all depends. So you cannot always think that, oh, you're going to have so many followers means you're going to have financial success. Not all your followers going to be a believer of what you are selling in a way. You can have 20,000 Instagram followers, doesn't mean 20,000 will buy a product from you. I've read a news back then, probably last year or 2 years back, when there's an influencer, I can't remember her name. She's based in US. She has about 1 million followers or more. And she just started out her clothing brand. And then after that, when she posted the post, there were so many engagements in terms of likes, comments, and views. But on the day itself, on the sales day itself, 0 customers went to her to buy the shirt that she was promoting for, the brand that she created for. She was so upset. 0. No one bought from her. I was thinking to myself, man, did she buy her followers or something? You get what I mean? And even if you did, right, you will still have your friends, your family that will support you in a way. But 0, no one bought from her. Yeah, can you imagine how detrimental it is to her brand? And she even posted it about her disappointment and how upset she was, right? So I was like thinking, wow, if this can happen to her, this can happen to anyone who are chasing fame, fame. Of course, if you're a Hollywood actor, it's a whole different level, right? And no one buys from you. Wow, that's even worse. I've seen, not from Hollywood, but from Hong Kong. This male actor who is very popular in Hong Kong didn't manage to get the sales target for the sneakers that he was selling on TikTok China. And man, it was a very huge news in the media. There were so many people that were trolling him. There were so many people that were talking shit about him. So can you imagine, like, you having risen up to such huge popularity, more than 20 years in the showbiz, and yet no one wanna support you for the sneakers that you're selling? And it's not like, a Chinese brand. It's Air Jordans and Nikes and whatever, right? I can't remember the actual brand. It's that equivalent of that. And yet no one is buying from him.
It's disheartening.
So yeah,
it's sad.
It's disheartening. Yeah, it's sad. So you shouldn't be always thinking that, oh, success is so fast. Like, oh, it's overnight. No, it looks overnight to you, but no one looks at the bottom of the iceberg. Always people will look at the tip of that iceberg, the cherry on top that makes it so
Mm-hmm.
beautiful. Oh, the media publications, the interviews that you had from
Mm-hmm.
different podcasts or whatever, right? It's beyond that. I want people to listen to this and know that, oh, wow, it's not so much about the financial success that you get through whatever venture that you're gonna go dive deep in, and then that is success. Success is more than just that. Success can be health, in your health. Like you are
Mm-hmm.
well, mentally you're well, you are really healthy, you are eating really good food, not junk food all the time. Probably once in a while you eat that junk food, sure. But of course, probably Brian Johnson, the guy who wants to reverse aging will say no, you shouldn't be
Sure.
eating junk food, right? But
Right.
but yeah, yeah, it's more than that. And Gary actually said so well. It takes 21 years of success to actually
Wow.
ingrain in us to think that success, once we have it, is not just that. It's gonna be more than that, more than that, more than posting on social media, more than being a digital marketer or being whatever that you're good at in your job. Success in family, success in relationship, success in other areas of life is so important, as well as your success in finance. You can be a millionaire or you can be a billionaire, a trillionaire, whatever air there is right out there. And yet you can be living such unfulfilled life. You can be partying all day, all night in Ibiza, in Miami or whatever, Vegas or whatever. You can still feel that emptiness in you, even when you are really successful, right? I went to clubs, I felt empty. I went there, I saw people who are more emptier than me. They are opening bottles, they are reserving sofas and tables, and they get all the gorgeous looking girls over there to make his ego lifted up a bit or many times fold, right? And yet, I saw how empty they are in their real life. In the clubs, they are living a facade. They are showing a facade to people. And then after that, they go out of there. They are no, they are no longer who they were in the club. They were not like that in the club. In
Mm-hmm.
probably in real life, they are more miserable in a way, right?
Yeah.
We never know. Yeah, and
It's very
if we
unfortunate,
base
but
off, yeah, if we base off success with fame and fortune alone, it's never gonna be enough. There are people who are
mm-hmm.
more famous than us. Dwayne the Rock Johnson is way more famous than us. There are people who are equivalent of Dwayne the Rock Johnson's fame in India, like Shah Rukh Khan, for example, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
even people who are way better than him, right? And etc. So if we always compare ourselves with others and we always think that success is like that, then all the more we are going to drown ourselves even further down to depression and etc.
I feel like comparison kills us. It's so hard, and it's been very inspirational. And I believe too, one of my beliefs is success is happiness. Just being happy is the new form of success.
Happiness and healthiness. Happiness and healthy, being healthy are the new religion in a way, as compared to, what the sages have taught us. Of course, huge respect, massive respect to them. But many times people tend to blur the lines between those. And then because of, I would say they want more control. So that's why they say, oh, you're going to join us. You're going to join this or that, or else you go here or go there or whatever, right? Hell or whatever they believe it, right? So it's the same. I believe happiness and health would be the religion that we always be actually inculcating to our next generation, and love as well, that we have to inculcate to our newer generations, our next generation, so that people will feel it, will feel the world is much more happier place in a way. So for the happiness index, man, probably US will be the first one. well, Singapore would be the first, right? Rather than the unhappiness index for the most saddest country in the world, in a way, right? So yeah.
I actually saw statistics that Singapore, the people are much happier than in the U.S.
Than the States, right?
Mm-hmm. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, ironically. Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I always thought that, Singapore is like one of the most unhappiest places for some reason at times, because we are always rushing. We're always having, some people, right? I wouldn't say myself. I do not have road rage, but I see a lot of people having road rage, right? And yeah, probably in the States, there's so many road rage as well, so many accidents and whatnot. And yeah, and it can be prevented in a way, right? It's preventable, right? All this can be prevented in a way. And yeah, it's always so surprising that, all these countries that we think are happy, but they're not. But ironically, when we look at the more rural part of countries, like say, for example, say Laos, even Cambodia, or even certain parts of China, you get to see people are pretty happy, are very zen in their own way, as compared to the more developed countries like Japan, Singapore, say for example, even say for example like US, or even
we're one
Korea,
of the worst,
right? I wouldn't say the worst, one of the worst, but probably one of the wouldn't say the top ranks, but yeah, it's comparable between Singapore and US in a way, in terms of lifestyle, especially metropolitan lifestyle. Yeah, we are comparable. Yeah.
Well, I just think the self-care is not focused on enough. We tend to work a little too hard. The majority, I would say. For
the American dream, yeah? Everyone's working for the American dream, Singaporean dream, whatever dream. So that's why they're hustling, and that's why they are not really satisfied. And then that's where, suicide rates went up and all.
Well, just having the low energy is it affects from the inside out, right? It's you just perform at a high level. You can only do it for so long, and your body needs rest and repair.
Oh yeah.
And yes, that time.
That's why you need that time to go rejuvenate, to go for your trips, to go play the arcade, to go the karaoke and whatnot, go for a good massage and all, right? So yes, it applies to anyone that's tuning in, regardless whichever country you're from.
Well, this has been a very inspirational time, and we really appreciate you opening up and sharing, your personal journey. And I really appreciate that. I think so many listeners can benefit in hearing your story and just hearing how it's helped, without your past, and focusing on the positive and being able to let the universe guide you, and focusing on gratitude, right? For the final question, I wanted to ask, what would you say is the best investment you've made for yourself?
My braces. The next one was to invest in mentor, which includes books and coaching programs. Some coaching programs that didn't work out well, I learned from it, which guru I should sign up for, which I shouldn't. And I also learned what are the content that's out there that is relevant and which is really useful for me, because not everyone's concept, ideas, tips, and tricks work for you. Some will work, yes, some wouldn't. So you got to learn how to actually navigate which one is useful for your life and which stage at which time, and then which one doesn't suit you at all. So yeah, even if you are a big fan of, say, for example, David Meltzer or Gary Vee or whoever, doesn't mean all their golden nuggets apply for you at this stage of life. It might apply in the next few years down the road, but it might not be right now.
I think that's very accurate, and I appreciate that feedback as well. I think it's important, right, to know it's maybe not for everyone. It might work for some, but maybe it's the timing in their life or where they're at in their journey, and just seeing what works for them And I think it's so true. Like finding a mentor is so important. If you have not done that personally, it's changed my life. I've had personal and business mentors, and I have a spiritual wellness coach. I mean, that's really
Nice.
been instrumental in my life. Probably for the last 5
Yeah.
years. It's pretty amazing. It's been very fun having you on our first episode, and I'm sure so many listeners enjoyed as well. Where can guests find you?
Well, you guys can actually find me on Instagram as Raygacy, Raygacy. And then, of course, you can find me on Facebook, LinkedIn as Rayson Choo. And then also at the same time, you can go on to Spotify to listen to the podcast, or even iTunes as well. It's called the Raygacy Show. So we are aiming to actually have a lot more guests as compared to last year. Last year was more of a healing process, so I had more time to myself than the podcast. So this year I'll double down on podcasts, and also we are going to have a new YouTube channel that's going to be different from the Raygacy Show. So the Raygacy Show is more prim and proper, but for the new YouTube channel, which I'm going to do it with my friend, is going to be more about celebrity gossips, more about celebrities' lifestyle, and etc. So yeah, it's going to be more chill,
Wow.
more calm, yeah,
Very
more
cool.
relaxed in a way. So it's different. Okay, it's going to be different. So stay tuned for that channel to be out.
Well, thank you. Thank you again, Rayson. It's been a pleasure. As we wrap up this episode, I encourage you to reflect on how wellness, gratitude, and faith intersect in your life. How can you nurture these areas? Thank you for joining me today on this journey towards a more balanced and fulfilling life. Don't forget to subscribe and tune in to our next episode when we will dive deeper into gratitude. Until then, take care and remember to embrace wellness, cultivate gratitude, and seek divine guidance in all that you do. Goodbye for now.